Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Name One Player podcast. My name is Nicole. I am your host. And before we get into the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you to every single person for hitting play today. If you haven't already and you like the Name One Player podcast, I would love it if you could subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening on, rate the episode, like the show. Some of the platforms give you the option to leave a little comment, so I would love to hear from you, hear how you're doing today, and just say hi. Today's episode is kind of part two of the conversation that I had with Charlotte. The last episode that I put out was me and Charlotte discussing Sky Sports Halo and all of our thoughts on that whole debacle. So if you haven't listened already, I definitely recommend that you go back and listen to that one. But I was kind of having a bit of an issue lately with just having, well, I don't know, as an issue. It's a good problem to have, but the conversations that I've been having with women on here have been so fun, so insightful, and we're just yapping away. But then I end up cutting out so much of it because they're longer than our episodes, and I don't love making the episodes too long. So then I thought, let's split her up. Let's have two episodes. And I'm hoping that this works out. Please give me your feedback on if you like the split episodes or if you prefer to just hear it all in one go. But I think this is a fun way to go about it. Gives you a little bit of a breather, lets you listen to the episodes at whatever pace you would like to do, and kind of gives you those smaller doses of the conversations, but you get two of them. So it's like a little bonus episode, if you will. But this episode with Charlotte, we are getting further into her experience as a woman working in sports. She has a lot of experience, and it is so cool breaking down those roles. We get a little bit deeper into her history and how her love of sports started. And then we also get into her love of football. Okay. We are not talking about the NFL in this episode. So anytime I refer to football, for my North American listeners, we do mean soccer, unless I specify the NFL. And then Charlotte has a really crazy name one player vibe type of story. So definitely stick around till the end to listen to that. You do not want to miss it. So I think let's just hop into it, shall we? All right, everybody, without further ado, please welcome Charlotte. All right, everybody, we have Char back with us. Char and I just finished filming a little episode all about Sky Sports Halo. So if you are interested in that whole debacle, definitely go back and listen to that episode. But I knew I wanted to have a bit of a separate episode for Char to get all into her experience working in sports. Because Char, how long was it? 6.5 years?
6.5 years, and I've been
Okay.
around it for like 8.5. So
Okay.
you can also probably figure out my age from it. Don't do that.
Okay, so we will get all into that, but then I also wanted to get all into, because I'm sure now you've heard from Charlotte's voice, she is from the United Kingdom, and when I was living in London, the football culture there is just next level, so we wanted to do an episode on football in the UK, Europe, just everything that's going on with that, and I know nothing about it. So, Char, you're going to be carrying the heck out of this episode.
Oh, God help me.
Let's start out with, though, let's just get into it. Your background. You mentioned in the previous episode that you've worked in sports for a long time, but you also grew up playing sports. So I want to hear all about
Yes.
just how you fell in love with sports.
Yeah, so I am the youngest of three, two older brothers, a dad who played sports. Both my brothers played football. And if you didn't play sports in my household, it was frowned upon heavily. It was always just something that kind of bonded the family. My dad loves sports, my mum loves sports. She will sit in front of the TV and she will shout louder than anyone else at football games or England games. She's so invested. She loves to like host parties for it. It was always kind of like our house was the place to be, to watch sports and to be involved in sports. My brother was a professional referee for a while for football, and then worked in kind of football development. My middle brother works in like sports gambling. So it's a very football, sports orientated family. I grew up, I wanted to be a sports journalist, which is why I went to talk sport. Never kind of got fully behind the camera though. I think I get a little bit camera shy sometimes. Hence, this is why my second ever podcast.
Well, I'm honored you're here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. No, I'm a yapper and I get worried about what I'm going to say. And like sometimes the things that come out of my mouth aren't controlled by what is actually in my brain. But yeah, I grew up wanting to be a sports journalist. Ended up starting working for Talksport, then went into Publicis, which was amazing, working on kind of the largest advertising campaigns in the world. It's the largest advertising company in the entire world. So, working on some amazing clients. We did the World Cup, we did the NBA, we did English rugby league. We have done everything and anything. I'm very lucky that I've been a part of it and got to work on some amazing campaigns, a lot of kind of women centric campaigns as well, the Lionesses. So incredibly lucky to have done what I've done for the last almost 7 years.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. And I mean, you answered the question already, but my question was, did you always know that you wanted to work in sports? And it sounds like you did. So I'm curious about how working with Talk Sport happened. Did it just kind of fall into your lap? Were you manifesting Talk Sport specifically? How did you prepare for getting that role?
Yeah, it was definitely something that fell into my lap, which I'm incredibly lucky for. I'd kind of worked my way into the industry in terms of connections. I was really lucky to work with a fabulous, fabulous man called Lee Clayton, who is the head of Talksport, now global head of sport at the Daily Mail. But he championed women in sports. He is like women's biggest supporter. He is so women centric in the fact that he will do anything to push women and kind of break that glass ceiling. So incredibly lucky to work with him and just some amazing people that I got experience working. I did 2 Euros, a World Cup, like copious amounts of Champions Leagues. We did ATP tour. We did the F1 rights while I was there and we brought that in. I don't know anything about F1, I'm so sorry. Although my friend will kill me if I don't say go Lando Norris. So there we go.
All right, okay, little Lando shout out. I like it.
Yeah, just kind of worked across a real breadth of sports. A little bit of NFL experience too, although like I said to you, I still don't understand it. It's very stop and starty. I know you're a massive Vikings fan, so if
Love
you
it.
want, I will take them.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank
I
you.
promise, they're my
We're
team
your
now.
team now, okay? You can't go back on it.
You have to be a whole City fan now.
100%. They're my favorite team.
Mine too, so weird.
Incredible. Okay, I absolutely love that. And you mentioned too, don't know as much about the NFL, and I do not know as much about football, European football. And also too, my listener base is probably 90% American. We got it's majority American and then some in Canada. So like altogether 90% North American. We do have a fair amount of listeners though from the UK. So for everybody listening, we are going to be referring to soccer as football, so
Correct.
don't get mad at me. I when I lived in London, I was so conscious about never calling it soccer because
Oh, it's sacrilege here. They'll call you out for
yes,
it.
and I was like, I can't do that. So I got very used to calling it football. Even now too, I feel like I can't call it soccer anymore.
Yeah,
So yeah, football is what we are referring to it
correct.
from here on out. If anybody hears football, you will know that we are talking about soccer. But before we get all into your, your Hall City fandom and the rest of like working in football, I want to hear more about your advertising campaigns, especially working with the Lionesses and more women in sports projects. In the last episode that we just recorded, you showed us this incredible book. And that's also too, the mutual friend that we have that introduced me to you. She told me about this project that you did, and I looked into it, and it was just so inspiring. It was beautiful. So please talk more about that. I'd love to hear about it.
Thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah, we put out this book called Unfinished. It is Ellen White, who was one of the captain of the Lionesses back in the day. It is amazing. And on the back, you'll see that it's black text. On the front, you'll see it's white. It's in collaboration with E. They put so much revenue into women in sports, into grassroots sports, into the World Cup and into the Euros. You'll see a gradient The White Pages is Ellen's biography, which is, I believe, 17 pages long. And that reflects how long women are in sports or are able to carry on with sports due to lack of funding. Then the rest is gradated black text, kind of facts about women in sports. Our ECD, Will John, who was amazing, worked really closely with him on that. And it was kind of his baby and brainchild. But being able to work alongside, respectfully, quite a few men who truly celebrate females in sports was incredibly inspiring. It was something we're all incredibly proud of. It was a limited run of, I think, 121 copies. This has won awards at Cannes. It's won British Arrows. We were incredibly proud of it. But just amazing people to work alongside and to kind of tell Ellen's story too.
I love that. I have goosebumps just listening to you. And I don't even know if we'd hit record yet or if you said this in the previous episode, but talking about going on Twitter and some of the interactions that we have on there, it does make you think that there's just no support for women who love sports or women who play sports or work in sports professionally and professional athletes who are women. When you're only kind of in that world, it does seem like we are in the 1950s. But it's nice to hear from you and other women who work in sports to just hear about the men who are working in these fields. You can tell that those are the men who actually truly do love the sport. Because
Yeah.
if you love the sport, you don't care who's involved in it. You just want to grow it. Your passion shines through. It does not matter who's involved. You just love the sport. That's it. And the people, particularly on Twitter and other spaces online, I feel like they're not real fans if you are dragging down an entire half of the population and saying they can't be involved in it. That's not true love and passion for your sport. But I love too what you said about working in advertising and just the amount of funding now that has gone into women in sports and professional women's leagues. I think that is just so cool to hear the difference. Maybe you can speak to the differences in funding and just the all around like air of acceptance from even when you started 6.5 years ago and your view on it from even prior to that till now. What are sort of the differences that you've seen?
I think there's just been such a shift and kind of almost like a radical acceptance with especially how great the Lionesses are. People in England, they want something to get behind. Having that kind of pride and that success for the women and seeing everything that they've achieved, their successes, I know it gives our nation hope that the men will be able to do it too and bring it home for us. But we have that real level of like, okay, we needed some things to get behind. We are so proud of what they've done. We really champion the Women's Premier League these days, which is amazing. The games sometimes sell out, especially at like the Arsenal Stadium, which is, gosh, 70,000 people or something.
Wow.
Just the level of support and also funding that's going into it. When I was a publicist, we worked with McDonald's as well, who support women's grassroots sports, support women's grassroots sports and really put the funding into it. They will help players get kits, training time, anything really that they need, and they'll give them pitches free of charge. So just having the space for women to take up and to be celebrated has definitely been something that has been kind of at the forefront of different brands, and working alongside it, I kind of know how pivotal it is for them to invest and to support it.
That is so cool. And you kind of mentioned too when you were talking about the book and the whole 17 years, and that is on average where a lot of young females will drop out of sports mainly due to funding and then also just the visibility. They don't, for a long time, they weren't seeing that you could play whatever sport you wanted to play on a professional level. And of course, like, we're not going to pretend that the funding is equal between
Yeah.
these sports, but it really is so cool to see how much more revenue these women's teams are bringing in, these leagues are bringing in, but then also how much more money people are investing in it because that's also too how it grows. And unfortunately, you need money sometimes in order to make things bigger. So
Correct.
so cool to see that aspect of it. You're spending your time between London and Nashville, but growing up in the UK, I want to hear your experience being a fan of football?
Yeah, so the story kind of goes for me that my mum and dad's first date, it was either first or second date. I'll get the clarification for you. My dad will probably say it's the first because he just doesn't have a good memory. My mum will be like, it's the second. Was to a whole city game. My dad grew up living and breathing sports. It was a stadium that was 10 minutes away from us. We would go as a family for Boxing Day or New Year's. And I was super lucky to be growing up in a time where Hull were amazing in the championship and were promoted to the Premier League. We had a few years in the Premier League. It was like my dad's pride and joy going every weekend. He is retired now and his like main source of joy is just managing fantasy football teams. He's custom made trophies for them. We have like a big family league. He just loves the joy that you get from sports. And it's just something that kind of brings people together. I think when you have 60,000 people in a stadium who are all together kind of supporting or being on different teams, just different causes and having that drama behind it, it really gives something to get behind and look forward to. And yeah, incredibly lucky that I was raised in the way I was. It was either for me, every day of my life was I like playing sports or playing music. I had like no real downtime. I had to kind of manage that. And my dad is just so passionate about both that he would take me anywhere and everywhere. So I'm incredibly lucky and kind of owe everything to them really.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, I love that. And you mentioned about it's the Champions League?
That Hollerin,
Yes.
that's the championship. So there's different leagues in the UK. We have the Premier League, which is where kind of all the best teams in England are in. Anyone that is in top four in the Premier League in the last season, or if you've won the Europa Cup, will go into the Champions League too and play alongside that. And that's the best teams in the entire world. I think that's the most watched final. It gets more views than the Super Bowl. I've been lucky enough to work on it a few times. Just the atmosphere is bananas every single time. English football, there's different tiers, there's a promotion system. You go in and out every year. So last three teams are relegated, top three teams in the league below promoted. And then there's kind of like the grassroots side of it too. So if you followed the whole Wrexham thing, they were non-league and they have managed to get into the championship in 4 years, which is so unprecedented. But it kind of shows that if you have the support and the revenue, you can kind of make your way through in football. But that's such like a fairy tale dream and journey for anyone that watched it and followed it. I kind of wish I was a Wrexham fan just for the pure joy and pageantry that would bring me.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have such an amazing system. I truly believe it's the best league in the entire world, and we are incredibly fortunate. I think where I am in London, there's seven teams, seven Premier League teams. So you are just surrounded at any given time, which is amazing. We have a bunch of championship teams here too. And it's just so fun to be involved in the atmospheres on game days. There are bars that are just dedicated to a team, which I know is the case a lot in America, and in Canada too with hockey.
Yeah.
So we have a kind of similar culture where people are just so dedicated and passionate to their team. They will get tattoos of their team. They will do anything for their team. They plan their weekends around away days. It's just super, super fun. And we are so lucky with the quality we get over here.
I love it. And a couple things to what you said, because I I don't I can't think of any sport that has sort of like the championship, the Premier League, and like you can get bumped down and you can move up. In North America, and anybody listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that exists in North America. But that is such a cool concept, I think.
It's, yeah,
The drama and, like, how long
that's
are the
it.
seasons?
They start in August. All of
Okay.
the Premier League seasons start sometimes end of August, start of September, and they finish May. End of
Okay.
May, sometimes start of June. It really depends on kind of the international timeline,
Okay.
and when the last season ended due to the World Cup or Euros. But it's pretty much end of summer to start of summer.
Okay, I kinda love that, and
Yeah.
then from my understanding too, and also I don't know if this is offensive to you, but I know a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
this
great.
from Ted Lasso from watching. I had no idea about it before, and I love do you like Ted Lasso? Do you is it
I've never seen it, but I get told whenever I told people what I did, they were like, "Oh, you do the job that the girl in Ted Lasso did." I'm like, Like, I guess that makes no sense to me.
Kind of, actually, yeah. There was a publicist. Yeah, actually, yeah. You definitely do. I recommend watching it, especially now, and we'll get into this too. Like, you're spending a lot of time in the States, and he's American, and he was a or not an NFL coach. Maybe it was NFL. I don't know. American football coach, and then now I'm just giving the premise of Ted Lasso.
Go
The
for it. I don't know anything about it.
this woman, she became the owner, but she hired Ted Lasso because she wanted to ruin her ex-husband's legacy, and then
The
he did
drama, I
amazing,
love
but then
that.
they were able to move up into the Premier League, I think, I don't know. Well, sorry, spoiler, I don't know. Well, actually, I don't know what happened, I genuinely can't remember, but I do remember it was, like, so intense watching, and then I hear that this happens in real life, that, like, you
Yeah.
genuinely don't know. It's the end of the season, you might move up, you might not. It's, like, heartbreaking, but then also the most incredible wins ever. So, do you like that rush, or are you kinda wishing that it was a bit more calm?
I feel like it gives me chronic anxiety at the end of the season. The joy of the championship is it's so close. So everyone plays each other twice. So there's
Okay.
46 games. The fun of it is that the top two teams get promoted, and that's a points based system. So 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, zero for a loss. And there's also goal difference as well, which it can come down to, especially on the last day. So, goal difference is just the difference between how many goals you've scored and how many goals have been scored on you. So, if you are a team that consistently scores 6 and concedes 0, your goal difference is going to be amazing. The championship, the first two teams get promoted, and then the places 3 to 6 are in playoffs.
Okay.
So 3 and 6 play each other, 4 and 5 play each other, and then the winner of that go to play at Wembley and get promoted. The financial aspect of it is insane. You get a giant amount to go to the Premier League and just
Oh.
promotion in general. The club gets so much revenue, your ticket prices go up. And obviously, like Man U are going to come to town, Man City are going to come to town. The amount of revenue that's going to bring for your city too is pretty like life changing for the pubs around it. So every
Yeah.
team wants to be in the Premier League.
Okay.
There's 2 transfer windows a year, one end of the season into the next season. There's one in January. You can buy new players. I know in America it works on a draft. Ours is purchase. So as long as you have the financial behind it and you can afford it, you can bring players in on loan or full season contracts, 3 years, etc., etc. It's why teams like Man City or Liverpool kind of consistently are winning. They
Yeah.
have the money and the revenue to buy the best players in the world. You have Haaland, who came from BBB to Man City and just consistently creates opportunities, scores goals, but they got him for such like a good price considered to like market value now. If you were going to sell him, you'd be looking at like 130 million. And there's probably two teams that can afford that. And it's like Barcelona and Real Madrid or PSG or something. So the limit that you can have for your team if you don't have that financial availability is pretty limited. We don't do it on a draft based system. It's all financial or revenue based. So if you're not winning, you are basically screwed.
Interesting. We just had the World Series with baseball, and that's kind of a hot topic too. Is there any sort of salary cap in these leagues, or if you have the money, you have the money?
There's like a financial fair conduct where I think your revenue has to be more than you've spent, I believe. But someone again can fact check me on that.
But then that's crazy. Then the revenue of these teams, holy crap, that's
Yeah.
nuts.
Well, if you think about it, you're charging like £60 a ticket, or a season ticket is like 900. There's 70,000 people going. They're buying your t-shirts. You're going to the Champions League. You have that additional layer of revenue because they get paid for that too. Like the amount of income is insane. If you Google like Haaland's salary, he's probably on like 250,000 a week or something. It's just bananas.
So Hull City, I'm just looking here. It says that they're fifth right now, 5th
Yeah.
in championship. Okay, so, now I'm obviously a huge Hull City fan, but tell
Girl.
everybody else and me, because I know nothing about this team, what do they have going for them this season? Do you think that they might get promoted? Is that on the cards? What are some things to watch out for Hull City?
We are doing incredibly well given our position. We basically had like a transfer embargo just because we didn't pay a fee or something.
Okay.
And that has been kind of appealed, but it's still in place for another season. So we could only take players who are on free contracts or players who want to come on loan. We had no other option. We couldn't buy players. We are doing so well considering how kind of limited our squad is or was. We've just got a new manager who is just like completely transformed the team. If we're not in a playoff place, I'll be very, very upset. Our owner, he's a Turkish owner, but he's been there for 4 years. And in that time, we'd been relegated during COVID and been promoted again. Now we're kind of top of the league in the championship. So I have hope and faith. My dad does too. He texts me every Saturday when they win. He's like, they're the best team in the entire world, which is not true, but probably to us it is.
Yeah.
We are having a great season. There is a lot to look forward to. We have a lot of injured players at the minute. So when they come back mid-December, I think we're going to be a real powerhouse. So up
Okay.
the Tigers.
Okay, I mean, honestly, I'm dead serious. If you're serious about being a Vikings fan, I will be a Hull City fan, and I
Yeah.
will follow along. I really will.
I love that for you. Get the BBC notifications on. I just had to wake up at like 8 a.m. on a Saturday to watch it. My boyfriend's in bed and I'm on the couch with the dogs being like, have to be quiet and watch along. And like,
And do they always play on Saturdays?
no, Saturday, Sunday, or sometimes like a Tuesday. It
Okay,
just really depends
okay.
on if you're being kind of selected for TV coverage. One of the things a lot of people don't know is that at 3 p.m. kickoffs have a blanket no show in the UK. So even if Man City are playing, which a lot of the time they'll be selected for like a Sunday game just out of revenue or like an 8 p.m. Saturday game, they can't show it. And that's to encourage people to actually go to the games. So you're going to have to find like a nice streaming service basically, or the team's own streaming platform. It won't be on TV and it's not easily accessible.
Okay, because I use, DAZN for
Yeah,
NFL streaming, so and I see all of the football matches on there, so I'll have to maybe I'll go back and see if Hull City's on there and
they probably will sometimes. They're definitely on Sky Sports too, but they're on our bad list at the minute.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. If everybody wants to hear our thoughts on Sky Sports and Sky Sports Halo, go back to the previous episode. Okay, that is really interesting. You are currently spending a good amount of your time in Nashville, and you were telling me a story about how you were at a Nashville Predators game, but you saw Nashville SC, you see one of the players and your boyfriend's like, "We don't have a soccer team." And you're like, "Well, you literally do." And it is so interesting because I live in Vancouver and the Vancouver Whitecaps are our MLS team and they're actually doing really well. They're selling out BC Place for the championships that are going on right now. But that was not the case. Like in
Yeah.
North America, football, soccer in North America is just not nearly as big. And now that you're spending time in North America, do you notice the difference? Do you have any ideas of maybe why it's not quite the same? And do you have any ideas for maybe how it can grow in North America?
Weirdly enough, when I've spoken to people and I've kind of made the comparison of I don't really like get NFL. It's too stop or start. They're like, well, football's too quick with football. Like if it's not a championship game or there's something riding on it, it doesn't go to extra time or penalties. We can just have a draw and it be done. And I guess there's that kind of like lack of satisfaction. Like if the NFL, if it's 24-24, it goes to overtime, right? And you have that little bit of like extra serotonin and boost of adrenaline.
Yeah.
We don't have that unless something is on the line or if it's a championship game or something is going to change as like a result of it. I think maybe that's one of the reasons, but also I think it's just a culture thing too, especially just given how passionate English fans are about sports in general. Our season is like one of the only seasons at the time. Whereas with America, you have so much happening at the same time. You have like 4 or 5 different seasons running concurrently. We just don't really have that. So we have like our winter sports, which is football. We have like our summer sports of cricket and rugby. And there is like a rugby league here, but that's kind of a more upper class sport, I'd say. Whereas football is kind of like a working class sport that everyone enjoys and gets behind. And it's just how you're raised. Whereas I think in America, a lot of it is kind of college orientated. You support your college football team or where you went or your family went. Soccer football is developing in the US. There's not like that real lifelong support there or passion that someone else has brought down and given to you, like I had. And I think it's good that the MLS are bringing in players like Messi. You have that level of attention from other countries, but it also dies down pretty quick. But I think what the change will be is with the World Cup coming up. I think that's going to draw a lot of eyes to the best of football. I think it will encourage more players to want to play in the US too, who are at those higher levels. So I think give it 7 or 8 months and see if there's a big shift just before the World Cup, which fingers crossed.
Yeah, that is a good point too, how you were saying like, it's interesting because I played soccer, football growing up, like, everybody kind of does when you're a kid, like, that's just kind of the activity that your parents put you in. I honestly, I think it would be hard to find somebody in all throughout North America who did not play soccer when they were a child, but I feel like that kind of stops at, like, I don't know, age of 10 or whatever. That's just a general thing, but it is interesting though because when you're growing up as a little kid, even more so as girls, but like you don't get to see in North America this like huge league of making millions of dollars and like the flashiness and the commercials, like you see the cereal commercials with like a basketball player or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not as, I don't even know, aspirational. Maybe that's the best word for it. But like when you're a little kid, you're not, well, okay, I was gonna say you're not dreaming of being a soccer player. That is not necessarily true. I have met kids who are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be a footballer," but again, they're calling it a footballer, and I think it's more based in Europe. They're like,
Yeah.
"I'm gonna play for the World Cup, they'd be playing for Canada, at least the ones here, but
Yeah.
there is still this idea of, like, going and playing in Europe because it's bigger in Europe, but then in North America, at least in Canada, like, hockey is the main thing, like, you're trying to get into the NHL if you're playing hockey. In America, football, the NFL, like, you're trying to become an NFL player or basketball or baseball because, like you said, there are so many leagues going on at once and just the visibility of it is so much more, versus in the UK, that's really all you're seeing, and just also too, like, when you look at it that way, like, the talent, like, you have these kids in the UK who that's all they're focused on, you're gonna have a lot more talented players versus in Canada when it's not your focus.
It's that for sure too. We have academies from like 5 onwards where
Yeah.
players know they're gonna get signed. They don't really have to like go to school or do schoolwork. They drop out at 16 and then they just get signed to a professional contract. You have that knowledge that you're gonna get that financial backing. It's a lot of it here is so financial based. There is so much money in football and in terms of like advertisements and sponsorships and revenue and the amount of eyeballs that these athletes get, they are treated like royalty. In the UK, if you go to a restaurant, they'd be like swarmed. So it's just the level of attention that we give it and the level of focus, but also just there's such a path towards it, but that's not necessarily for women, it's for men, sadly, with
Yeah.
those academies and the knowledge that they will get that financial backing and that eventual salary. You start so young and we prepare you for it so, so young. Just having the knowledge that you will be in a position to play for X, Y, and Z team, or you can go play in Europe or play abroad or something. There's just so many options and different streams to get into it. Yeah, it's just more easily available here for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point. I forgot about the academies. Like every major
Yeah.
team kind of has that. And yeah, like you said, from the age of 5, which is crazy. And then they turn 16 and then you don't have to go to school anymore. Like that's your life now. Football's your life.
Yeah.
And funny how you said too about just no notability, like the popularity of these athletes. And when I worked at the O2, I was involved in the suites usually. So we'd have quite a few professional athletes come through. I had no idea who these people were, and it almost worked out nicely because they would sometimes act like idiots, and I'd have no idea who they were. All I knew is that this person was acting like a fool, and I had to stop it. And they'd be like, "Don't you know who I am?" I'm like, "I genuinely have
No,
no
I
clue who you
don't.
are.
Sorry.
I just know that you're breaking a rule and I'm gonna get in trouble for it, so I need you to stop." All right. Well, that is so cool. Thank you again for sharing your perspective. I love talking to people from England because it really is just it's just such a different culture there, and it is really I'm sure you'll have more of these conversations being in Nashville and like the rest of North America, people talking to you about football, soccer. But, Shar, my last question for you, and I ask this question of every guest who comes on. Obviously, the name of the show, Name One Player, and that came to be talking about Twitter in particular. I don't know how many times I got asked to name one player on the Minnesota Vikings, and it infuriated me because you could go through my Twitter and you could see me name all of the players on the Vikings, but that's besides the point. I realized there's no point in getting mad at it. Let's just poke fun at it. You were telling me your story before, and I'd love for you to share this story, but it is interesting. It's a bit of a different take because in one of the more recent episodes I did too, we had a girl named Kara on. She talked about hockey and she also talked about the culture there. A lot of women are really treating other women differently. Some women do lack the whole let's bring women up, let's support all of us and make it a very inclusive and safe place for every woman. So I'd love to hear your name one player vibe story if you would like to share it.
Yeah, gosh, when this company's person will remain nameless, but I had an older female who was a presenter at the time for a different channel approach me and basically tell me in front of an entire office, which respectfully, full of men, that the only reason I was hired is that I was a sex object and that my boss found me attractive, which, gosh, I must have been like 23, 24 or something at the time, pretty young. And to have to go through that in a room full of men, it was like 8 a.m. too. I hadn't even had my first Diet Coke of the day. Luckily, now there's been a shift. I've worked with some amazing women, female presenters like Laura Woods, who just are amazing and they champion women and they form a place for women in sports and that level of attainability and success. But I think there's still kind of a backwards shift in terms of older demographic of why are you here and there must be a reason why you're here. And women are incredibly powerful and successful. Inherently, we are incredibly talented, we are wonderful, we are empathetic, we are kind, and we are very good at our jobs. And there is no reason that a woman should be degraded or reduced to just how they look to cater to someone else. We are so much more than that. We are incredibly talented, we are knowledgeable, and we're there for a reason. And we're getting to a point where more people respect that now and understand that. And I think as we grow and as we shift, especially with the celebration of female athletes, the minute we're really going to get to a space where women are championed and celebrated to the level that we all hope. Fingers
Oh,
crossed.
that was a clippable little blurb there if I've ever heard one. That will be going on socials. I love that. I mean, I hate that this woman said that to you, but even as you were saying it, like, I wonder if like she got told that in her journey and she just felt like she needed to say that
Yes.
to you. I don't know, that's crazy, but like even I mean just in our conversation now, and I said too before we hit record, everybody listening, me and Shar have never met in person, but we followed each other for a while now, and I feel like I know you, but I know that you would never say that to another woman. And you know, if
Right.
as you get older and you meet other younger women like working in sports, you would never dream of saying that to somebody else ever.
I wouldn't say it to anyone. Your success is not relevant to the way you look. And I hate that, especially a lot of women and female presenters, it's really boiled down and reduced to that, which makes me so upset and angry. But also, you kind of just have to put all your energy towards really promoting for a shift and kind of showing people the success that you bring and the celebration that you can have behind the scenes and your hard work and your talent. So
Yeah.
we'll get to a point for sure. It's still definitely a journey, but as far as I'm aware, there's a lot of amazing people behind the scenes who are really championing it and making it happen. So we'll get there. It'll take time, but we're on the way.
Love it. I love that part of it. I do. I do. And I completely agree. I do see the shift, and especially the shift in women who work in sports and like have large followings. That is always the best when I see those women who have like very established careers speaking out, saying exactly what you've said instead of tearing other women down who are not even necessarily trying to get to the level that they're at, because that's a whole different thing of like jealousy and feeling like women can't share the space. But I love that that's also been a shift, that it's like, no, there is room for all of us. And when women acknowledge that instead of feeling like, okay, they're in that space and they have to keep every other woman out because they're feeling like their job's in jeopardy or whatever, that we don't got time or energy for that.
No, there's space for everyone, and everyone has the right to take up space. And if you are talented, you will succeed. If you are mean, please go away.
It's true. I truly do feel that way though. Like the meanness, like we're just nobody wants that anymore. Like it does not get you anywhere. That whole like cutthroat, like you don't need to step on other people to get ahead anymore, especially as women. It's not working. That whole mean girl energy, nobody wants to be a part of it.
I once worked with a man who told me I need to be more firm. And I was like, I don't think you understand that the reason I am able to get like the help and have the contacts and get things done quickly is because I'm a nice person. I treat people how I'd want to be treated. And we have that like same level of mutual respect for each other and for people. Like there's no need in any circumstance in life to be a bad person. I think.
Yeah, and that is so interesting too, like, a man telling you you need to be more firm, and he probably meant it like you need to be more of a dick and, like, be an
Yeah.
ass and be mean, but it's like, yeah, of course, you can be firm and you can have firm boundaries and be like, "Hey, that's not gonna fly," or whatever, but that's not firm, that's, like, professional and
Yeah.
normal, and the fact that, yeah, men are thinking that you need to do that to succeed, and I mean, this is a whole deeper conversation, but it's like that whole idea of like when a woman actually does express what needs to get done in a professional and like kind way, they're a bitch. But when a
Yeah.
man does it, like he is a
Oh my
powerhouse. He
God.
knows yes, exactly. Crazy. Crazy.
Not the vibes.
No, no. All right, Shar. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I loved both of the conversations that we had. Everybody go back and listen to the Sky Sports Halo episode. But thank you for sharing all of your knowledge about football. I am so excited. I like I said, I'm definitely gonna go back and watch some Hull City matches.
Just watch the highlights. You don't need to watch the full.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I'll send you the good ones.
All right, Shar. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much to Charlotte for coming on. That was an amazing conversation. I am so excited to get locked in for Hull City, baby. Let's make it to the Premier League. But honestly, that is part of my favorite thing about sports is learning about new sports, because when I spent some time learning about football, the NFL, we will go back to calling football football. It was just so much fun learning, and I'm so excited to learn about football, soccer, and really dive into that. I think it's going to be a blast. I really regret when I lived in London never going to any matches. I will have to go back, and now I'm going to have to go to a Hull City game. That's just what I'm gonna have to do. There's no going around it. So Charlotte will hit up a Hull City match, okay? And then maybe a Premier League match. Maybe Hull City will be in the Premier League, and then we can knock two birds with one stone. That's the saying? I think that's the saying. All right, everybody, I am going to go now. But again, I just want to thank every single person for hitting play today and listening and supporting the Name One Player podcast. It truly makes me so happy, and I am so grateful for each and every one of you. If you haven't already, I would love it if you could like the show, subscribe, rate the show, whatever platform you're listening on. If you are not following the Name On Player Player podcast on social media. I would love it if you could follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. That's mainly where I'm posting things. I've kind of fallen off on Twitter, but I'll try to get back on it. Okay, we'll see. But yeah, that's all for me. You guys are the best, and I love each and every one of you. All right, I'm going to go. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and rest of your week. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.